All right, Shabbat Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start off this lesson by giving all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach. All right, double honor to the apostles and the elders and the bishops of Great Millstone who rule well and have taught me this word in truth and sincerity, okay, and peace and mercy to the whole full elect, started with the 144,000 and the rest of the 1/3. Okay, so coming at you with another lesson, okay, and as you can see, the topic here is how can reincarnation not be biblical? All right, how can reincarnation not be biblical? Because obviously, reincarnation is something that a lot of these, the majority, if not all of these wacky-tacky Christians. And I say wacky-tacky because true Christians go back to the followers of Yahweh Shai. Okay, so the Christians of today, the true Christians of today, are the followers of Yahweh Shai, who profess the name of Yahweh and His Son Yahweh Shai. But you got these wacky-tacky Christians that don't understand the concept of reincarnation. And honestly, you cannot understand the Bible without having understanding of reincarnation, because even our forefathers, all right, the men before us that were given the visions that we read today, they understood reincarnation, and it was still hard for them to understand the way the prophecies, right, and the judgment of the Lord. So how much less someone who doesn't understand reincarnation? You understand? So you're going to be completely lost when it comes to the scriptures if you don't understand reincarnation. Now I'm going to prove that, all right? Because when I was the inspiration of this lesson comes from this conversation, right, from between Esdras and Uriel the angel, who's sent by the Most High. Okay, and and there's a lot we can learn from this conversation. Okay, a lot we can learn from this conversation. So I'm just gonna get right into it, and I got it here in the GNT. So 2nd Esdras chapter 5. I'm gonna start at 40. Okay, so 2nd Esdras chapter 5 and 40 in the GNT, it says, he continued, you could not do even one of the things that I have asked you to do. How could you expect to understand Yahweh's judgment, or why Yahweh has promised his love to his people? Okay, now I want to get a precept concerning that, because as we go on, and when you actually have a full understanding of the Bible, which you can only get via the Holy Spirit, you see that the Lord has made a promise to a chosen seed, right, of the nation of Israel. And that promise, they've been, that chosen seed has been basically waiting patiently through faith and obedience upon that promise all the way up until now. Salaki, I'm looking for my precept. So here we are thousands of years later. Those same spirits are back here again in the end of the end, okay? Because the beginning of the end started when Yahweh Shai came on the scene. But now we are here in the end of the end, okay? And those same spirits, that seed, okay, the elect that were, and then, of course, the rest of the nation of Israel that were given these promises, they are here today, all right, about to receive those promises. Okay, this is the end. All right, this is the end that the Bible speaks of. We're in this time right now. So this is 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 7. And let me get it in the NLT. And see, if the Spirit is dealing with you, you're going to pick up on the fact that the theme is you got all these prophets and men and kings that relied upon the name of the Lord, and again, that chosen seed that sought after the Lord and his promises through prophecy, right? And they always talked about them receiving, all right, the promise at the end, in the end days, in the last end. Okay, so how would they receive that if they just come once and die and that's it? It doesn't make any sense. So 2 Timothy 4 and 7 says, I have fought the good fight, right? This is Peter speaking, NLT. I have finished the race and I have remained faithful. And now the prize awaits me, the crown of righteousness, which the Lord Yahweh, Bashem Shai, the righteous judge, will give me on the day of his return. Why would Paul say this if he didn't understand that he was going to come back in the day of return? All right, if he's of the elect to receive of the promises, right? So I'll read that again. It says, and now the prize awaits me, the crown of righteousness, which the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shai, the righteous judge, will give me on the day of his return. And the prize is not just for me, right, but for all who eagerly look forward to his appearing. This is 2,000 years ago. Okay, 2,000 plus years ago. So what the hell was he talking about? If the Spirit is dealing with you, you know that he'll be talking about now. This is the time. Okay. Yeah, that's it on that. So let's go back here to 2 Ezra 5:40 again. In the GNT, it says, he continued, you could not do even one of the things that I asked you to do. How can you expect to understand Yahweh's judgments, or why Yahweh has promised to love, why Yahweh has promised his love, right? Which is that reward, the kingdom of heaven, everlasting life, right? Perfection and righteousness to his people. And who's his people? The nation of Israel. Okay, not the whole world. That's another doctrine that the wacky-tacky Christians hold dearly to. All right, hang on to a bunch of nonsense that they spew, and even our own people. All right, Israelites, all right, that know, Israelites that teach that they're Israelites, but still teaching a Roman Catholic doctrine. Basically, it's what you're doing. All right. Anyhow, so it says, verse 41, then I said, but the Lord Yahweh, your concern is with the people who will be alive at the end of the world. This is Ezra, and Ezra is about like 450 years before Yahweh Shai. And Yahweh Shai is like 250 years ago, or sorry, 2,500 years ago. So altogether, you're speaking almost 3,000 years ago. Ezra is saying this. Again, verse 41, then I said, but Lord Yahweh, your concern is with the people who will be alive at the end of the world, right? And we're here at the end of Esau's world. What will happen to those who live before that time, right? Because he's asking about himself, right? And everybody else before him. And says, what about us? What about those who came before us and those who live after us? So when you see what Ezra is doing, he's asking about all the in-betweens, right? Esau's well, you know what? Let me just let the scripture break it down, because the scriptures go into it itself. So let me not run ahead. It says, he answered me, then the final judgment can be compared to a circle, right? And just as a circle has no beginning or end, so those who come early will not be too early, and those who come late will not be too late. So understanding reincarnation also means you understand order, right? The order of how the Lord does things. Everything has to happen in his season, in his time. And this is what the Most High is breaking down through the angel to Ezra, because Ezra is in that spirit that we're in today, all right? And with less understanding than we have. So you could imagine, this is why he was going back and forth like the way he was, okay? He was wondering, why can't it just come now? We're going through all these things. We've been going through all these things since Adam up until now. He didn't know that there was more to come, which we are here today. And they are back here today with even greater understanding. Because again, reincarnation is a biblical concept, okay? It's a part of the Bible. So let me read 41 and 42 one more time, and then I'm going to get a precept. So verse 41, then I said, but Lord Yahweh, your concern is with the people who will be alive at the end of the world, right? The elect. What will happen to those who live before that time? Well, what about us? What about those who came before us and those who will live after us? Right? So it says, he answered me, the final judgment can be compared to a circle, right? And this is why, that phrase, a circle of life, is no coincidence, because life really is a circle. All right, you come and you go, you come and you go, you come and you go. He answered me, the final judgment can be compared to a circle, and just as a circle, he has no beginning or end. It's like just as a circle has no beginning or end. So those who come early will not be too early, and those who come late will not be too late. So everything is done in its time, in its season, and that's beautiful. So let's go from here to Ecclesiastes. Come on now, Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 6. Okay, and I got this in NLT. We'll read down to verse 11. So Ecclesiastes 1, verse 6, and it reads, the wind blows south and then turns north, right? So that's like a full circle. It said, around and around it goes, blowing in circles, right? And I'm bringing this out because reincarnation is likened to a circle. That's the easiest illustration I can give you. That's the scriptures is giving us, okay? It says, rivers run into the sea, but the sea is never full, okay? Rivers run into the sea, but the sea is never full, right? Then the waters return again to the rivers and flow out again to the sea. So Ecclesiastes is written by King Solomon, right? So King Solomon, when you look at the how a river and a sea works, how a sea flows into a river, it's like a river flows into a sea, and a sea back into a river, and back again, and so on and so forth. It's also how spirits from heaven come on earth, leave, get back up, get sent back up to heaven, and then come back on earth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. All right. Water is likened to the seed, spirits. You see? So even in nature, all right, if you have the eyes to see, which is, can only be given to you by the Holy Spirit, you'll see examples of life itself in life itself. Okay? So it says, rivers run into the sea, but the sea is never full. Then the water runs again to the rivers and flow out again to the sea. Okay? This is how it works in the spiritual realm. Okay? Verse 8. Everything is wearisome beyond description, no matter how much we see. We are never satisfied, no matter how much we hear, we are not content. History merely repeats itself. Straightforward, man. It has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. And that's so true. When the Spirit is dealing with you, you're going to see patterns in history, and it's going to give you a lot more insight and understanding of the time you're living now. Why? Because no new thing is under the sun. This is how Satan was able to deceive the whole world, because the Most High gave him the power and the resource, right, to go into history and to see the pattern. Esau knows reincarnation is true. He knows that, okay, and that's why he pushes the narrative to the world, and especially you Israelites, to live like you're only living once, because he knows the truth. And living like that can only breed carnality. Because if you truly understood that, okay, the way I live today will impact when I come back on this earth. If that was really in your mind, you wouldn't be, listen, you would think twice on what you're doing. You're talking about generational wealth. Man, the elect are doing that in the spirit. Have been doing that in the spirit since the foundation of the earth. Take that in. They've been storing in generational wealth in the spirit from the beginning of their inception on earth all the way up until when they come back, when they meet the Lord and get beamed up back into the chariots, which we're in that time today. So, hey man, hey, this is a blessing that we understand this, man. Because now that we understand this, the picture is so much more clear to us as to why everything is playing out the way it's playing out today. Us as a people, us as individuals, the people around us, the economy, the society, all of it. Okay. So I'll read that again, verse 9. History merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. Sometimes people say, here is something new, but actually it is old. Nothing is ever truly new. It just looks different, right? It just looks different. Verse 11, we don't remember what happened in the past, and in future generations, no one will remember what we are doing now. And obviously, Solomon, he was going through the motions. Okay, he was going through the motions. Because remember, he ended up doing a lot of wicked things towards his towards his later years of aging. Okay, so he basically came to a point where he thought life was worthless because of how he was brought up, all the great things he did, into all the wicked things he did, and how everything played out. And obviously the prophecy too that was given to him about his kingdom, how his kingdom will be split into two after his death. So he was going through all the motions, right? But now here we are. No, we understand now through Solomon when he came back as, Yahushua, because again, reincarnation, the spirit that was in Solomon is the spirit of Yahushua, is Yahushua himself. Okay. Now we understand through Yahushua's sacrifice that there is remembrance of what the elect are doing, of what that chosen seed is doing. All right, that's how they're going to receive glory in the kingdom. It's based upon their track record from the beginning of time all the way up until the end. And through all those lifetimes, how they've been dedicated to the Lord, man. It's going to be such a wonderful revealing. And it's being revealed right now. The scriptures say that the whole world groaneth, all right, for the manifestations of the whole creature groaneth for the manifestation of the sons of God. Because once the elect are starting with 144,000, are put back in rulership under Yahushua in the kingdom of heaven, which is by default the kingdom of Israel, the earth is going to return back into its paradise, as it was meant to be. Okay, so reading again, it says, verse 11, Ecclesiastes 1:11, we do not remember what happened in the past, and in the future generations, no one will remember what we are doing. And remember, he said, in the 12th verse, or the 12th chapter, that he found out at the end of all his self-reflecting, he found out the only thing that matters as an Israelite man is to serve the Most High. That's it. That's it. So continuing on, well, that's it. That's the point on that. So let's go back here to, or you know what? I got one more precept I want to bring out here. Job. But Job is another precept that, okay, brings out reincarnation. As we know, for those of us that have been in the truth for quite a bit, you understand this already, but it's always good to get a refresher. So this is Job. Oh no, I'm at 30. It's Job 33. So Job 33, and let me start at 9. So Job 33 and 9, and it reads, you said, actually, I'm going to get this in the King James. All right, so Job 33 and 9, it reads, I am clean without transgression. I am innocent. Neither is there iniquity in me. Behold, he findeth occasion against me. He counteth me for his enemy. He putteth my feet in stock. He marketh all my path. Right? Job is going through it. Okay? It says, behold, in this thou art not just. I will answer thee and Yahweh is greater than man. So let me get that part in the NLT, Slacker. Just pull it off my phone right here, because this is exactly as well the spirit that our people are in, and this is why they're going to die in their sins, for rejecting counsel, right? For rejecting rebuke. All because you see man, you think it's not coming from the Lord. Well, you err not knowing the scriptures, because the Lord's always worked through man, all right, i.e. the prophets, to bring out his word. So, okay. Bear with me here. Just going to pull it off my iPad. So, all right. So, Job 33 and 9 in NLT, it reads, okay, Job 33 and 9 in NLT says, "You said, I am pure, I am without sins, I am innocent, I have no guilt. Yahweh is picking a quarrel with me, and he considers me his enemy. He puts my feet in stocks and watches my eye ever. He watches my every move," right? And this is basically, we're being judged, right? The Most High is putting his affliction upon us as a people. But the thing is, Jake, you complain about your afflictions, but when the Lord sends his prophets, all right, to give you understanding, so that you won't have to be a child of wrath, all right, and you can receive mercy, what do? You say what? It says, "But you are wrong," and verse 12, "But you are wrong, and I will show you why, for Yahweh is greater than any human being." So, you know what? You're wrong for thinking like that. You're wrong for whining about your condition and not wanting to do anything about it. You want to whine, but when the Lord sends his prophets to rebuke, all right, and to correct and instruct you with the instructions, what do? Well, you've killed the prophets, you scoff at the Lord's word, and you're going to do it all over again, because guess what? There's nothing new under the sun. Okay? There's nothing new under the sun. So, going back here in the King James, verse 13, it says, why does thou strive against him? For he giveth no account of any of his matters," right? And the Lord is really only giving his secrets to the prophets, hence reincarnation. Understand the reincarnation. In the NLT, verse 13, it says, "So why are you bringing a charge against him? Why say he does not respond to people's complaints?" Yeah, it's you act like the Lord isn't responding to you, right? Because you don't want to hear it from man. You want him to come down himself off his throne and speak to you. Our people, for my people are foolish, all right, and they have no knowledge. Okay, they're a sottish people. That's what the Lord said. Verse 14, "For Yahweh speaketh once, yea, twice, yet man perceiveth it not." That's everything I've been saying. And he's doing it right now again through the prophets. So the Most High has been speaking to the rebellious Israelites, all right, the nation of Israel, from the beginning, from the seeds, from the sons of God in Genesis chapter 5, all right, that seed down to Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all the way through the Yahushai, the prophets, then Yahushai, up until now. The Lord has been speaking to Israelites, to man, and they haven't been perceiving it. Okay, it says, "In a dream, in a vision of the night," right, in your sleep, "when deep sleep falleth upon man, in slumberings upon the bed, then he openeth the ears of man and sealeth their instruction, that he may withdraw man from his purpose and hide pride from man." So everything's already script. All right, everything's already script and played out. The Most High is the one that seals the instruction, all right, in our minds as to what we're going to do the next day, That's what he just said. That's what Job just said. Okay. Now let's look up the word ears, because we should know what the word seal means, right? When you get I'll just look it up just for the sake of y'all. So seal, right? Sealeth. It says to seal up. Oh, you know what? Let me gotta practice my Hebrew. So the word in the Hebrew is ha is hakam. All right. Yeah, hakam or hatham. Can't select it. Hatham. Right? So in the Hebrew it's hatham, but they say it here as
Strong's H 2856. Chatham.
yeah, no.
Chatham.
Right. So it's hatham. It says to seal up, right? To seal up, fastened by sealing, right? So we know what it means, right? It also goes into, look at that, a mark, right? To make an end mark. Okay, so let's go back here and let's go to the word ears, right? Or openeth. Let's go openeth first. Slacker. Okay, so openeth, and that in the Hebrew is galaha or galah.
Strong's H 1540. Gala.
Well, I guess I got that right, but I think it's actually galaha, but I'm sure it's galah. It's galah. Yeah. Anyhow, so in the Hebrew galah, it says to uncover, remove, to uncover, remove. It says, and what did the Lord has? He's uncovered this truth, the prophecies, right? Through dreams, through visions, as we read in Job. He sealeth the instructions in their mind. Okay, and then they wake up the next day and they write down what they saw, because that was an instruction. So write down, make it plain upon tables. Was that Habakkuk 2 and 3? That they that might read it runneth. Is it Habakkuk 2 and 3? Let me just double check. Yeah, Habakkuk 2 and 3. Yep. The visions for a future time described, and it will be fulfilled. It seems now coming, wait patiently, for it should surely not come, or will not be delayed. Oh, verse 2, Habakkuk 2 and 2. I got it in the NLT. Says, then the Lord said to me, write my answer plainly on tables, so that a runner can carry the correct message to others. So the prophets got the visions. It was sealed into the mind. They wrote it down, and it was meant for the elect to read it and get the correct interpretation, the correct message of the vision. Not everybody has a correct message. Okay, not everybody has a correct message when it comes to the Bible. So going back to this word uncover or openeth. So when he open up the mind, he also uncovers his secrets to the elect, right? It says here to reveal himself of God, right? Yahweh. To reveal, okay? Yeah, you get the point. All right, so now let's go to the word ear, right? He sealeth, he opened it up. He said he opened up their ears and sealeth their instructions. All right, so the word ear in the Hebrew here is Azah, Azawa, Azawa. Uh, Slake. Azan. Azan or Azana? I'm sure it's Azana.
Strong's H241. Ozan. Ozan.
It could be Azan or Azana. For sure, one of those two. But it says ear, right? As part of a body, right? As an organ of hearing, but here, oh shit. It says to uncover the ear to reveal, you see, to uncover the ear to reveal the receiver of divine revelation. That's it. Okay? To the receiver of divine revelation. So guess what? The prophets receive the divine vision, all right? And they wrote it down so that they can get the understanding when they come back. Why? Because the spirit of the prophet is subject to the prophet. If the spirit of the prophet is subject to the prophet, then how much more everybody else? Their spirit will have to be subject to them too. Okay? In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon man, and a slumbering upon the bed, then he openeth up the ears of man and sealeth their instruction. You see? That he may withdraw man from his purpose. And yeah, because you think that you're going to do this tomorrow, but the Lord says, nope, this is what I have script for you to do. And hide pride from man. Right? He keepeth back his soul from the pit. And this is what the Lord has done with the elect throughout all their lifetimes. The Lord has always been a sanctuary to the elect. Okay, sealing their minds with instructions to follow him. Right? Yahushua said they follow that the sheep follow the lamb whithersoever he goeth, right? He keepeth back, verse 18, he keepeth back his soul from the pit and his life from perishing by the sword. So the Lord is with his elect, man, even in death, okay? No, that's it. That's the point. So from there, let's go back to Second Ezra. Yeah, let's go back to Second Ezra 5 and 41. It says, or 42. No, I was at 43, still okay. So it says, come on now, man. Goddamn pop-ups. So Second Ezra 5 and 43, he reads, I replied, but couldn't you have created all human beings, those of the past, and those of the past, the present, and the future, so that they would all live at the same time? In that way, you could have had your final judgment sooner. So Ezra thinks he's slick, you know? That's funny. Yeah, so it says, verse 44, he answered, the creation cannot move faster than the creator. And besides, the world wouldn't have been able to hold all the people if everyone had been creating at the same time. And that makes sense. Right? That's why reincarnation has to make sense, in terms of the Bible, in terms of understanding the Bible in its fullness. Hell does not make sense. People die and just being stored up in this place, this underworld forever. Then why would the Lord say the earth can't even hold all the people at once? Right? Now, everything is just like that precept I read earlier with the river. right? The river flows into the sea and the sea back into the river. So all the spirits in heaven, they all can't fit on earth. So you have to come, they come in their time. They come in their generations, in their seasons. Okay. Verse 45. Why then, I asked, did you just now tell me that one day you will bring back to life all at the same time every creature that ever lived? If the world them at can hold them all then, it can hold them all now. Right? So Edris is like, listen, man, you said that you're gonna bring all the people back at the end. So if it can hold them all then, why can't it hold them all now? Like let's get this thing rolling right now. Hasten the day. He was hastening the day for real. Verse 46. He answered that would be like asking a woman who has given birth to 10 children why she didn't have all of them at once instead of one at a time. So what does that show us? That shows that it shows us that we might think it makes sense to do things this way, or this is a better way, but the Lord is saying that no, He has it playing out this way for a reason. You see, the reason because what Ezra is asking isn't totally wrong, but obviously, being here 3,000 years later, we have more understanding. We know that everything happens in His time, in His due time, and you can't rush the Most High. All right, that's why faith and patience is required if really you're going to serve the Lord. All right, which means you have to deny yourself, right, and take hold of the Most High through prophecy, which is, the testimony of Yahweh Shai. So let me read this again. Why then, I asked, did you just tell me that one day you will bring back to life at the same time every creature that ever lived? If the world can hold them all then, it can hold them all now. He answered, that would be like asking a woman who has given birth to 10 children why she didn't have them all at once instead of one at a time. Right? It says, verse 47, that would be impossible, I answered. She can't have them all at once. In the same way, he continued, I have made the world like an womb so that it produces human beings at regular intervals. Wow. Okay? So the earth is likened to a womb, and this is where all these heathens get their doctrines of Mother Earth and Mother Nature, because the earth has been likened to a womb of a woman. But it doesn't mean the earth is a god, it's a deity. But they bug out. They don't know the difference, right? So let's look at the word intervals, right? Intervals. Everything happens at its time. Intervals. Time elapsed between two actions or events. Interval, interm. It says, and directly from late Latin, intervalum, in a space between an interval of time. Right. So in the heavens, right? Because you come back every third or fourth generation. So where are you between those third and fourth generations? Well, you're either on earth or you're in the spiritual realm, right? You're going to be in the spiritual realm not on earth. You're in the spiritual realm. You're going to be in the spiritual realm for 3 to 4 generations, and you come on earth and live your life. Then you die, you come back up to the spiritual realm for another 3rd, 4th generation, you come back. So that's intervals. That's a set of intervals, right? When you do like HIIT training, okay? HIIT training, HIIT, high intensity interval training, is you doing one circuit, coming back and doing the circuit again, right? The circuit of life. You keep coming back over and over again. So originally space, so it says see inter, right, which means between, and volume, rampart, palisade, wall, right? Yep. Wall, metaphoric sense, of gap in time. Also, the Latin, a pause and interruption in a state of activity. Well, anyways, you get my point. All right, we come in a set of intervals. So read that again. Verse 48 says, in the same way, he continued, I have made the world like a womb so that it produces human beings at their regular intervals. So let's get Ecclesiastes 3:1. Okay, so Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. Okay, so as the title says, a time for everything. Okay, so Ecclesiastes 3:1, to everything there is a season. Let me get this in the NLT actually. No, Salaka. I'm going to keep it in King James. Salaka. So Ecclesiastes 3:1, it says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the sun or under the heaven. Okay, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. So this is a system, and that's what the Lord was letting Ezra know. This is a system to how I have everything run. So it says, or ran. It says, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up, a time. It's like a time to pluck up that which is planted. Okay, so as you see, verse 2, it says, a time to be born and a time to die and a time to plant. So that's the earth is likened to a womb. All right, there's a time for people to be born, there's a time for people to leave earth, and they all go back up to the heavens. A time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, a time to build up, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. And right now, okay, it's the time of the stones being gathered together, which is the building block of the house of David. All right, right under that chief cornerstone, which is Yahweh Shai. Okay, the stones also represented judgment too and rebuke. All right, that was the ancient custom going back to the law, where you would stone people according to certain sins. So guess what? Right now, it's a time to gather stones. We're not literally stoning, but spiritually, we're giving that rebuke out. That rebuke is going out via the prophets. We're speaking the Lord's words. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. Right? And it's funny because all these times are set between each other. All right? And what I mean by that is, like, as it says, there's a time to, in verse 6, it says a time to get and a time to lose. Right now, it's a time to lose, but it's also a time to get. So that's what I mean. These times always play side by side. They coincide with each other, like left and right. Right now, it's the time to get this wisdom and knowledge, understanding, and lose the world. Okay, but people are in a time to get the world and lose the Lord and lose this truth. Okay, a time to keep and a time to cast away the world and keep this truth. A time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. And this is a time to speak, because when all hell breaks loose, that's when the Lord is going to put silence upon the prophets. Okay, and a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. We're in a time of war, but at the same time, all right, the elect are receiving peace through this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. What profit hath he that worketh in Slaki? What profit hath he that worketh in that wherein he laboreth? So that's what Solomon is, again, going through the motion, saying, so what's the point of someone that works for his labor? All right, Slaki. Let me just get this in the NLT. It says it better than I can apparently bring it out. Ecclesiastes 3:9, it says, what do people really get for all their hard work? Right? So he was going through it because everything he had done. But again, in the last chapter, he found out that the purpose of us being on earth is to serve the Most High. Okay, so that we can actually receive the fulfillment of the promises that he gave to us. Okay, what profit hath he that worketh in that wherein he laboreth? I have seen the travail which Yahweh has given to the sons of man to be exercised in it. All right. Verse 10, it says in the NLT, I have seen the burden Yahweh has placed on all of us, on us all. Right. And yeah, this life is a burden, but within this burden, we're being comforted. Okay. Verse 11, he hath made everything beautiful in its time. You see, also he hath set the world in their heart. He has set the world in their heart so that no man can find out the work that Yahweh maketh from the beginning to the end. Wow. Let me get this in the NLT. NLT says, yet Yahweh has made everything beautiful for its own time. He has planted eternity in the human heart, right? Which is this truth, right? The elect have, all right, the key to immortality, which is this wisdom, knowledge, understanding, professing the names of Yahweh, Yahweh Shai. Okay, eternity in the human heart, but even so, people cannot see the whole scope of Yahweh's good work from the beginning to end. And even with what we know now, we don't even have the full scope. We just have what's necessary. We have what's necessary. Okay. It's vast, man. It's vast. A lot of history. So, verse 12 in the King James, it says, I know that there is no good in them, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life, and so that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of Yahweh. And that's true. That's true. But now we're in a time where that laboring that a man is to rejoice and eat and drink in, all right, spiritually is his work. It's his truth. Not this world, man. We're not into sowing into this world. We do what we got to do, our daily bread, like the scriptures say, get in and get out, and then get back to this work, man. Okay? And even when we're in the world, dealing with the world, we operate with this truth in our mind, of course. Right? Wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of our times. But again, King Solomon was going through his ups and downs. All right. So at one point, this is what he believed, right? Which he was right. On a certain level, he was right, because this place is paradise. But now we're in a time where, this place is done. Okay. So you got to sow into the spirit. Verse 14, I know that whatsoever Yahweh Ba'ashem El Shai doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And Yahweh doeth it, that man should fear before him. Yeah. Let me get this in the NLT. It says, verse 14, and I know that whatever Yahweh does is final. Nothing can be added to it or taken from it. Yahweh's purpose is that people should fear him. You see, that's his purpose. And this is see, he even came to that conclusion in the 3rd chapter, but it looks like it really comes around full circle, no pun intended, in chapter 12, the last chapter. Okay. Verse 15, it says in the King James, that which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been. And Yahweh requireth that which is past. All right. And moreover, I saw under the sun, and actually in the NLT, it says, what is happening now, verse 15, has happened before, and what will happen in the future has happened before. You see, because Yahweh makes the same things happen over and over again. So Reincarnation is biblical. How can reincarnation not be biblical? Reading that, it has to be. Things happen the way they happen, and history repeats itself because it's the same spirits coming back. Simple and plain. Verse 16 in the King James says, and moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment, right? Which is the earth, right? That wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there. All right. In the NLT, it goes into courts. And yes, there is wickedness and righteousness in the court system, right? But this is bigger than that. This is talking about the earth. Because as you read verse 17, he says, I said in mine heart, Yahweh shall judge the righteous and the wicked, right? For there is a time there. Where is that there? Right? For there is a time there on earth for every purpose. So on earth, there's a time for every purpose. Okay? And for every work. See? So on earth is where the spiritual realm is manifested. Okay? Let me see here. Right? So let me read that again. So I said, verse 17, I said in my heart, Yahweh shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work. Okay, so back here, 2nd Ezra 4 or 2nd Ezra 5. And I'll read verse 48 again. It says, in the same way, in the GNT, he continued, I have made the world like a womb so that it produces human beings at regular intervals. The rule that neither a young child nor a old woman can give birth to a baby also applies to the earth, or it's like it also applies to the world that I have created. Then I said, since you have brought up the subject, may I ask if the world you have been talking about is still young, or is it approaching old age? He's trying to get up out of here, man. He's trying to get the fuck up out of there. So verse 51, it says, he replied, you can learn the answer from any woman who has given birth to several children. Ask her why her young children do not grow as tall as her older children, right? And this is referring back to the earth as well. So remember that. So the children of the earth now, okay, are smaller than the children of the earth in the ancient world. She will tell you that those born while she was young and healthy are much stronger than those born when she was getting old and becoming weak. And it's funny because in the ancient world, like ancient, they, women and men lived for hundreds of years. So, that makes sense. That would make sense. All right. But obviously, metaphorically, the earth in its beginning, right, when we came on earth in its beginning, we were way stronger. We were way bigger. Those giants that you read about in Genesis are Israelites, not angels that fell from heaven to sleep with human beings on earth. That's complete madness, man. Those were Israelites. We were way bigger and taller and stronger. Okay? Way bigger and stronger. And I'm going to get an example of that as well. I'll just finish this up. It says, she will tell you that those, verse 53, she will tell you that those while she was young and healthy are much stronger, right? The earth, than those born when she is getting old and becoming weak. And we're in that time right now. Okay? That's why we're weak. We're through. You will notice that you are smaller than the people of earlier generations. Those who come later will be smaller still. This shows you that creation is already getting old and losing the strength of her youth. If you please, Lord, I ask, will you show me the one through whom you will bring judgment on your creation? And that's Yahushua. So, yeah, man, that's a beautiful conversation. Lots of insight in that conversation, but I want to end it off with this precept concerning us back then and how we were so much more stronger. There's many examples of that, but I want to use this example in Chronicles. First Chronicles 12 and 8. First Chronicles 12 and 8, it reads, I got an NLT. It says, some brave and experienced warriors from the tribe of Gad also defected to David while he was at the stronghold in the wilderness. Right. So this is when David was on exile. So it says they were experts with both shield and spear, as fierce as lions and as swift as deers on the mountain. That's no light illustration, man. That's how we ran. Okay. Now check this out. It says, verse 9, Ezer was their leader. Obadiah was the second. Eliab was the third. Mishahana was fourth. Jeremiah was fifth. Attai was sixth. Eliel was seventh. Jonan was eighth. Elzabad was ninth. Jeremiah was 10th. Macabani was 11th. These warriors from Gad were army commanders. The weakest among them could take on 100 regular troops. So the weakest among these guys, one of them, can take on 100 regular troops, and the strongest could take on 1,000. If you see one man take on 100 men right now, you'd be blown out of your mind, let alone 100 take on 1,000 and win. So reason why the reason why they were able to do that back then, okay, is because they were way stronger. We were way more in our youth, so to speak, in the youth of the earth. So that's it on that, man. That's all. I just wanted to bring this out concerning the conversation that Azarus was having with the Most High through the angel Uriel on the earth and the time of the end, and reincarnation kept coming to my mind, and how can reincarnation not be biblical when you go into the scriptures and you read these precepts, right? Especially if you see this conversation. Anyhow, I'm going to close up. Low wellness was edifying to the whole full elect of the nation of Israel. Give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders and the bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. Have time in this word in truth and sincerity. All right. And peace and mercy to the whole full elect, starting with the 144,000 and the rest of the 1/3 that sincerely believe. Baba Ball, Kwama Shala, and Shabbat Shalom to the whole full elect.